Hey, it's Yolanda at DryerBuzz, and it's time for the answer of the day. And I was sitting here, I was trying to figure out, what imagery to put because, all the answers we've already given you. I know that I need to create a thumb stopper. I know that I need to pull the trigger, and I need to push the button, and all those things. And of course, I was sitting here and I was getting ready to give you this answer. And as you can see, I said, hey, listen, it's answer of the day, 27 answers. I didn't put an image behind there because I want to talk about what should go there. And I want to talk about maybe you just went through, you going through the same dilemma that I just went through, trying to work on this one simple post. What was the picture? What was the imagery? And I thought about it and I said, well, here's the answer I want to talk about is status and influence. Influence and status. And the reason I'm a few minutes behind in pushing the button because I couldn't decide which to say first. Do I say status first? Do I say influence first? Is the answer about status? Is the answer about influence? I know that the answer has to help you create influence. I was like, maybe it's influence. And so, here we are. So what I'm going to talk about these two things. There was, for those of you that didn't go the marketing route, you're trying to figure out marketing, you started with your passion, you started with a hobby, and you realized there's some profit behind it. I can make some money with this, right? Everybody wants it. Everybody wants to buy into it. Some people want it for free. They just want it, right? And you're like, well, it costs a little bit to produce that for you. I want to give it to you because I want everybody to have it. And that's usually what happens when we stumble upon this unique thing that we all have within inside of us that we end up wanting to do. We want everybody to have it. Well, everybody can't have it. I'm just sorry. Everybody can have it. This thing, everybody is not meant to be on the charitable route. Some people are out here to make a whole lot of money. Some people are out here to create a whole lot of status, a whole lot of influence. It just depends on why you want to do what you do. Why you want everybody to have what you can make, what you can say, what you see. You want everybody to partake in it. But then you realize, wait a minute, there's a lot of cost associated with this. I need to reimburse some of these expenses. I need to make some money. I want to do this every waking minute. I want my Monday to feel just like my Friday. I don't want to have to worry about the Sunday night anxiety. I want to live my passion, or I want to have a business. I want to be an entrepreneur. I am a creative. However you define it and whatever outcomes you want of it, you have got to figure out what is the status of it and what is the influence, the status over the influence. And both of those, they're giving me, both are giving me issues right now because we know that in selling, now mind you, our conversation always goes from consumer, creative, capitalist. We're dealing with those three things in this series of 27 answers, in this season and in this series of 27 answers, realizing the status that we have and the influence that we create. Status is people look at you and they slot you. They're like, oh, they give you a status, right? You carry yourself with a status. There's a certain status you want. There's a way that you walk, you talk, you dress, where you work, your level of education, your relationships, all of those things, from your purse, your wallet, your shoes, your Fitbit, your Apple Watch, your Apple versus Android. Everything is about creating status. Your email address, whether you're at Gmail or your own or Hotmail, or you're still at AOL, if you're on whatever kind of network you're on, if you talk about the fact you got a DVR, if you're watching stuff on demand, if you're going to the movies on Friday, or if you're going to wait a couple of weeks, everybody's already talked about the movie, and you got to wait because that ain't your priority to run out there and spend money like that. But for some, it's their status that they go at the first showing on a Friday. They go early, not even because they dying to see the movie, because they're trying to maintain status. If you are trying to turn followers into customers, you've got to understand the whole science behind status. You've got to understand the whole science behind status and influence. Let me check my time, as we are already 4 minutes into this 9-minute answer, okay? And I've lost count as to which one this is, but there were some before. There's before and after. So if you're catching this one, there's many more. You can go to our Facebook page, 27 Answers by DryerBuzz. You can follow along with us on YouTube. If you're catching this ever in a friend's timeline, thank your friend for sharing some great content. And come on over to the page, like the Facebook page, or subscribe on YouTube. And Answer of the Day is part of our season here at 27 Answers. I'm Yolanda Lattimore, the blogger, author, advocate, and creator of DryerBuzz.com. And because people come up to us wanting answers each and every day, we such then launch 27 Answers. 27 because I like numerology. 2 plus 7 is 9. 9 means that thing is complete. And so we come on live on Facebook. We record these live on Facebook at 9. We give you 9 minutes at 9 o'clock a.m. on the East Coast. But we know out here with this status and influence, there are no time zones, there are no walls, there are no barriers. So we never know who's listening, who's watching, but welcome and thank you so much for coming in. So, and in that conversation, in that spiel I just gave you, I gave you status and I gave you influence because for that person that shared this on their timeline, they wanted the influence of it. And because they wanted to keep their status, right? So sharing 27 Answers it gives influence. And I'm still fighting between status and influence. It gives status and gives credibility to their influence. How about that? Status gives credibility, or people who want status seek credibility of their influence. You hear in marketing today, there's something great now called influencers. And it's getting a little rough. People are trying to really figure out, are those opinions that we can trust? Are those people paid? Are they giving something for free in exchange? Are they being honest? That's a question now that people are answering. But many of them have created that influence organically. They've created that influence because once upon a time, they were genuinely honest. They were the way to get a story out. They were telling stories, like say for instance, the 16 years of blogging at DryerBuzz.com, a lot of the headlines that we would run, a lot of the stories that we would tell, a lot of the people that we would interview couldn't go to a number of sources. That's why blogging created the influence that it did and gave a status to the bloggers, because we found a lane to support those that were suppressed in everyday media. We started blogging about authors because authors at one time, they were shut out of traditional media. Media wanted to go with another type of influence and moved away from the scholars. People who write books, they do a lot of research. They study, so they are scholarly. But there was a time when traditional media started going down the entertainment route, and they just wanted somebody who had that quick influence who could grant them status, right? Because we want to get with the status. People buy stuff for the status. That's why it said that there was a meme, not even a meme, but there was a piece of data, a piece of scientific data that was placed on the internet a little while ago, and it talked about how African Americans made purchases, and looked like it might have been even recorded in the 50s and the 60s. I don't know. I tried to legitimize it, but you know how things are on the internet now. It's very hard to follow the paper trail. It's very hard to follow the links. People grab stuff and they don't think that they need to cite the source and all that. So it was very difficult for us to find it, but I'm still looking. But basically what it said about African Americans, and I'm talking particularly African Americans because I'm an African American. I have a large African American following, or a large black influence. It said that blacks in America bought based on status. And this was at a time, and it looked like the video was at a time when the breakdown of segregation, during the breakdown of segregation. And it looked to be a lesson video for those who were discovering this new mass of black customers. Okay, and it basically talked to the science of how black consumers make their purchases, and that they make their purchases based on status. Now to this day, when you keep in mind that the black consumer is a trendsetter for each and every consumer, being, the black consumer is the most appropriated consumer. We're already at 9 minutes, but I'm gonna wrap this up, guys. So therefore, it said that the black consumer made their purchases based on brand name. All right, can't deny that, because it created status for them. That's what the hierarchy was based on in the community, the type of car you drove. And this has been the last 50 years, where you live, the street you lived on. And not even the street you lived on, because there was a time where black people, no matter what the economic level, they lived in the same communities. But you can still look within those communities and see the status, who had the status and who had the influence. Even today, to this day, we still live in that manner. We finally have probably a generation of two that's not to that, because they haven't been sold to sold to in the marketing world. And so, they don't consume much traditional media, which is where the majority of advertising, which is where the majority of influence. So a lot of times they have what we call peer-to-peer influence. There's one, they look at that peer that has some status. They look at how that peer created that influence based on that status, and they duplicate that. And so that's where influencer marketing has come into, because people realize, well, I can't just put a commercial on television. I'm not going to get the eyes on that commercial. I can't put a commercial on radio. I'm not going to get the ears on that commercial. I got to have all these other things to go along with it. Not one without the other. All of it plays into play. But what it did was, thanks to the internet leveling the playing field, giving everybody who ever wanted an audience, you're able to now go out and use that in your marketing. Influence marketing. What is your status and how does it support my influence? What is your influence and how does it support my status? When you think about using social media for business, because that's what 27 Answers is here to do, help you use social media for business. When you put a post out there, when you put a piece of content out there, when you put a status update out there, how does it create influence? How does it give someone status? That's when when you clearly can identify that and you clearly figure out what that is, that's when you're going to sell more. That's when you're going to sell out. You've got to talk about how it creates that. That's the selling. That's your selling point. No matter what it is that you're selling, okay? No matter what it is that you're selling, you've got to say how it creates status and influence. And I guess that's how it goes. It's status and influence. You're either going to help a person maintain their status or create influence. There we go. I knew we'd work through this thing, because I'm like, it's buzzing in my head. I got to talk it out. And what did I just say? I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and listen to it so that I can retitle this video and get it over on YouTube. But how does it maintain status and create influence? Does your product help me? What's in it for me? Remember WIIFM, a great lesson we learned from George Fraser. How does your product or your service, or even just knowing you, if you're out here trying to create a personal brand, you want people to come to your events, you want butts in the seats, as they say. How does knowing you, using your product or your service, maintain my status or help me create influence? Because I want to maintain my status, but I also want my status to grow. And in order to get my status to grow, I got to have influence, right? So when your friends shared this on their timeline, they wanted to maintain their status and create more influence. I hope that's how I said it. I'm going to go listen back to it. I urge you to listen back to it. Not only this one, but others each and every day. Not each and every day, but hey, listen, we're giving you an answer of the day. We hadn't decided if we want to keep it going on the weekend or not, but hope you're enjoying answer of the day. If you go back and look at the others, you see how even in growing this series, it's changed in and of itself, because we want to make sure that it helps you maintain your status and create influence. This is Yolanda with an answer of the day. Make sure you click that like button on Facebook, that subscribe button on YouTube, and also please give us a share. All right. And if you're not reading and following, filter the entire internet for DryerBuzz to see what you've been missing your status and your influence. All right. Answer of the day, 27 answers.